Hey folks, Flaming Friday number 10. We're glad you chose to be with us out on the range for these 10 informational answer sessions. Hopefully we can keep doing more. The question today is, what do we do with all the skeletons? You burn the tree and you're left with skeletons for seemingly forever. They do begin to fall over, but after maybe 5 years, some sooner, but for the most part, they hang on for a while. They provide wildlife habitat while they're still standing, and they do provide some cover, some nesting and roosting. Wildlife will dig underneath. They'll dig for the bugs that are living around the base. There's just 2 doves flew out of that skeleton over there just now. They've been hanging around in this pocket. As we know, cedars, you line your cedar chest with you line your hope chest with cedar so that it keeps the bugs away. So there will be some less value for bugs, but they will decay and they'll start to break apart. They're a pain to move if you wait for them to dry out. If you have some like this that are standing after a fire and you would like them moved, you want to cut them sooner rather than later because they're still flexible right now, but as you let them dry out, then they'll start breaking up like matchsticks, and they are really difficult to handle. Some tree removal guys won't even touch the skeletons if they don't have to, just because they make such a mess. Some of the bushier trees that are standing alone, those skeletons, once they dry out, they're fairly light. A guy can move around a 6-foot tree a little bit by himself if it's not held down by too much grass. And the wind will blow them around a little too. So those are some things to consider. We prefer to cut out our fence lines before the burn and move the trees away so that we don't have dead standing trees falling on fences throughout the years as they rot off at the base. The benefit of cover and habitat for wildlife is there. The cattle still will get in those standing trees and graze around and through them, depending on how thick they are and how tough they are. But anybody with Charolais or even red cattle will notice the black from the ash on the tree on the cattle. They'll rub on them, they'll wallow around in the dust, or even rub on the fallen trees. But at the same time, that bush will protect grass from being grazed so that other species, some smaller animals, can get in there and utilize those patches of grass that cows don't graze. And then that is helpful for all sorts of reasons. But we'd understand that having a mosaic on the landscape would be helpful to provide a variety for different species that are out there. Some turkeys might find that old growth underneath a tree to be protection, keep other birds from swooping down on where it's laying, to hide in that bunch grass, but then to have open space around its home so that it can see. And you might have a badger or coyote dig for grubs underneath the base of the tree where that is rotting away. So those are just a few of the things that you might do, or some value that the skeleton creates. As far as cleaning them up, we don't, mostly because the slopes we couldn't get to cut the trees off the slopes anyway. The benefit to doing some sort of cutting project before the burn is to move the trees out of the way of where you might want to drive, where you might want cattle to get around easier, or wildlife to get around easier, or some sort of waterway to be more open. All of those things are reasons why we move trees before the burn, so that we don't have to deal with skeletons after. I think, unless, if you guys have more questions, why, let me know what we do with the skeletons. But some people would consider them an eyesore, but it's part of it. It's a part of the natural cycle. Some people would say that we're restoring a balance to nature, and I kind of think that's a little bit of some sort of utopian view of what nature really is, that it functions in cycles. So we've had this cycle or this period of time where we have allowed trees to grow, and now we're in a little bit of a recovery where we're applying fire to the landscape, and the skeletons grow up, and in 100 years there will still be some remains of dead trees, but there were dead trees when we got here, and lots of trees have died, both in the generation before me, and now again with the different beetles that we have eating even our deciduous trees. There's some sort of cycle where these elms will be replaced by hackberries, and the hackberries will be replaced by something else, and if the ash beetle ever gets here, it will also go in some sort of cycle. And this is the cycle that we're in with our cedar trees, is where we had open prairie, then it became cedar forest, and now we have kind of a recovering prairie ecosystem where we have to deal with skeletons. We have to deal with the weeds and the shift in species composition that we see on the rangeland, and that's okay. That is part of it, and if it were to be where, it could be in perfect balance, something would happen, whether it be natural disaster, a dry year, a wet year, tornado, disease in cattle, disease in buffalo, excess of wolves or lack of wolves, or some other natural predator, not to get in on the wolf debate, where just one little thing in the cycle is disrupted, then the cycle continues. That's why we haven't achieved some sort of wonderful utopia throughout time, is because that the cycle continues. We are guaranteed that the natural spring, summer, winter, and fall, that the seasons will continue. So again, if you have some questions or something, wonder about the skeletons, we've had people ask about fence posts, or logging after you burn, or go ahead and ask in the comments, and I'll try to answer it in the next one. So thank you.